create beam steering for this linear switched array transducer. Okay? Remember, the slope is what steers it, right? So if I see even though I'm using these 5, if I had a slope going this way, then our beam is going to be steered that way, correct? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have, all these are going to have a slope because they're all going to be steered in the same direction, okay? To create that parallelogram shaped image. All right? Any questions on that?
When do you use that?
Doppler.
You use it most of the time on Doppler, and we're going to talk about that right now. I usually won't, there's really no reason for me to use this on a 2D image. But on a Doppler image, definitely there's a reason for me to use it because, remember I said how Doppler works. The 2D image is our base image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything after that, we're just slapping technology on top of a 2D image, okay? So the reason we have to use angles for Doppler is because we have to create angles because we need, we're usually using it for blood flow, right, for Doppler. So we have to make sure this blood is either coming towards the transducer or away from the transducer. That's how Doppler works. If you're not traveling, this is my transducer beam shooting down right here, and remember, think about your main portal vein. If you have that main portal vein straight across the screen, perpendicular to the beam, you're not gonna get good fill up on that vessel, right? Mm-hmm. That's why the texts tell you to come in between the ribs so you can get it going towards the transducer. Correct? Mm-hmm. So that's the purpose of Doppler, is because it's not gonna work for you if you don't have the anatomy directed to the transducer, towards the transducer, or away from the transducer. So just like I can have that, I can come right here and get it, the main portal vein and it's red. I can also heel to my transducer and have it going the other way. Now it's blue. That doesn't mean it's going in the wrong direction, right? Mm-hmm. I just have to know how to read my Doppler scale. Okay, and we'll talk about that. Okay, but
can you be a little bit more specific on how this is being steered?
I'm about to.
Okay.
You mean with the color Doppler?
The sequential, the linear sequential.
With the slopes.
Okay.
The small groups of right here. Right now, they're in a straight line across, right? Remember, if it's a straight line, it's going to be directed straight down, right? Remember, we talked about that when we were talking about steering, when we were talking about linear phase array transducers at the end of that section. Same thing applies here. Electric steering and electronic focusing works the same way. So, instead of all of these elements being struck at the same time, where it's going straight down, it's going to create an angle. This one might be struck first, this one might be struck last, okay? That's gonna cause this beam to be steered this way, okay? So it's about the slope of the excitation of those elements that's gonna cause that beam to be steered.
So it's electronic steering, not mechanical.
Definitely. Remember I said, it's only two things that are gonna be steered mechanically, right? What are they? Angular and mechanical. Everything else in this chapter here has electronic steering and focus. Okay. Remember, our slope excitation pattern is what creates our steering. Okay. So back to this image, guys. Figure 1228 shows a rectangular grayscale image, anatomic image created during color Doppler exams with a linear array transducer. We can clearly see our rectangular shaped image for our grayscale image, the electrical patterns, they don't have a slope because my image is perfectly rectangular, right? Meaning that is similar to this right here. It's going straight down. All of my group of elements, they're all being struck at the same time. Okay, they're gonna go straight down. Okay, but we see the angle clearly right here. For my color Doppler image is a parallelogram. You see that? See, my color Doppler is a parallelogram. So we know that the electrical spike patterns from my Doppler signals that create my Doppler segment of the image, they're sloped because it's creating that parallelogram shape.
So it's making 60 degree angle?
Maybe. I don't see the angle on here, but you can't say because it doesn't have a sample volume in the middle of that. So I can't say exactly what angle that's making. With a sample volume, I can tell you because it's going to be on the screen. Who knows? I'm not going to make that assumption. but clearly it's angled. It's not in the shape of a rectangle. Okay. So our 2D image, it doesn't. You can see it's rectangular. It doesn't have a slope, right? Rectangular image is going to be straight. It's not going to have a slope. Okay. But when it creates a parallelogram with a linear switched array transducer, that means that those excitation patterns are sloped to create that. Y'all good? No? Y'all need me to draw it? I don't see confidence in the room like I was seeing at first. We're good? Okay?
So,
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
Just the verbiage have changed.
The verbiage is exactly the same. That's what I'm trying to not confuse you on. The verbiage is exactly the same. The technology of electronic focusing and steering works the same. If the elements are struck in a slope pattern, that means it's steered.
So, I don't know, maybe you're covering focusing right now. Here I got confused. Beam focusing, how do you focus this linear array?
You tell me.
Is it a multi-focus?
It can be.
I'm just trying to fill out the worksheet.
But that's not helping you understand it though, right?
Okay.
What makes electronic focusing?
It's not a beam. Oh, the system is not a.
That's true. But what how are the elements being struck with electronic focusing?
Is it counting for
By curved excitation pattern. By curved excitation. So if they make a U like this, that means that it's going to create focusing. So this beam right here, it's neat. That's why these beams are coming out like this. It's neither focused nor steered, right? Because the beam, all my elements are being struck at the same time, and I don't have a curved excitation pattern. So that means it's not going to be focused either. That's why this beam is coming out in a straight rectangle like that. Okay, so I need, if I want it steered, then that means I had to have a slant, okay, a slope. If I want it focused, that means I had to have a curved excitation pattern to focus it. Okay, so this one right here is not curved nor steered. Okay? These are just sound beams coming directly out of the transducer. Okay. Guys, we need to recover that steering and focus.
Yeah.
We'll cover it when I finish get through this. Okay, so here we go, guys, right here. So here are our elements right here while we're talking about focusing, coming right to you, Pat. Electronic focusing, a linear switched array transducer is going to have both transmit focusing and dynamic receive focusing. Okay, remember, electronic transmit focusing is done with a curved excitation pattern. Here we go, Pat, right here. Remember I said these groups 3, 6, like 6 crystals are creating this beam right here. Remember, these 6 creating a beam, these 6, these 6, these 6, and so on and so forth till we get to the end, right? So these are our excitation patterns right here. Right here. So our outer elements are gonna get excited first, and the middle elements are gonna get excited later. That's what's gonna create our hourglass beam. Okay? That's why every time you hear focusing, I always want you to associate that with something curved. Whether it be, like I said, internal focusing, curved PZT, external focusing, a curved acoustic lens, electronic focusing, a curved excitation pattern from electrical signals coming from the beamformer, right, to the transducer. Okay? So our elements are all lined up right here. This curved excitation pattern right there, that's what's going to create focusing on our beam. Okay?
So this one is steered and focused.
No, it's not steered because it just has a curve. It doesn't have a slant. You got me? Cover that at the end of linear phased array again. Cover that at the end. I'm going to send you guys what I have on this so far so you guys can have something to base that on. Okay? So again, electronic transmit focusing, curved excitation pattern of the active elements when it's sending out sound. Okay? Receive focusing is done with electrical delays and the signals returning from the transducer. It should be returning to the transducer. Returning from the transducer because it's already created to make the sound waves into electricity, right? So the phase delays change continuously during reception, thereby focusing at many depths, thereby improving lateral resolution during reception. Okay. We already covered this already when we talk about dynamic receiver. Guys, if you need to study that end of that chapter, the end of that section again, where it's talking about linear phase array, at the end of the linear phase array section, it's telling you how electronic focusing and electronic steering is accomplished. Okay? It's all about how the elements are being excited, how the elements are receiving their electrical signals. Okay?
Same chapter.
It's the